Mm.
Welcome to Chef Look Cooks. I'm Virginia from the library. Oops, of course, two more people are banging at the door. Oh, one look. Looking for looks here. We're really excited because Chris is going to cook something for Mardi Gras, which of course is coming up very soon, Tuesday, March 1st, Fat Tuesday. And it's going to be shrimp and grits. I love shrimp and grits, and I've never made it. I can't believe it. I mean, how stupid is that? So I'll let Chris take it away.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Virginia. Hi, everybody. Hi, special thanks and hi to my mom and sister who just showed up. I am making shrimp and grits today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're making a sauce, really, to be completely honest with you. The shrimp and grits themselves are kind of a side to the sauce, in my personal opinion. You can make shrimp and grits a lot of different ways. You can make it chunky with lots of vegetables, and the shrimp are almost like in it, like in the sauce, and that's a great way to make shrimp and grits. But for me personally, I like to make a really, really intense sauce, and then the shrimp are basically just a side protein. You know, they could literally be anything. And the grits as well could literally be anything. You could use oatmeal if you want to. The sauce is really our jam. And so we're going to spend a lot of time on the sauce. We're going to spend barely any time at all on the grits and the shrimp. And that is the way I like it. So as always, I'm going to start off with a little tour of our mise en place, as it were, which is everything in its place. That's very important to cooking. If you can keep everything very close to your work. I've got my pans I'm going to need there on the stove. We've got all my ingredients here. We got the shrimp, we got the stuff for the sauce, we got the stuff for the grits, and a little lemon over there and some butter. All the utensils I think I'm gonna need. You know, I might need more. I might have to run through the kitchen and get stuff, but if you can sort of do your best to have everything together right off the start, then you're just gonna be setting yourself up for success. So mise en place, very important. I always like to start with that, mainly because I'm always really just proud of seeing it in front of me. It's one of my favorite parts of cooking is getting everything together and then just sort of going. So yeah, we're gonna jump right into this without much delay. If you're like me, I had to thaw my shrimp. I just ran some water over them until they were soft and easy to peel. And we're gonna start peeling them right now. We're gonna do 16 shrimp. That way, if you're eating with 2, you can have 8 shrimp each. If you're eating with 4, you can have 4 shrimp each. I feel like 4 is an acceptable amount of shrimp, but realistically, if I'm eating shrimp and grits for dinner, I want at least 8 shrimp. So we're gonna do 8. And we're going to plate with 8 as if you were cooking for 2. But this dish does work really great with 4 shrimp as well. Just, you know, put a little more grits in there, a little more sauce. People will make it work. Shrimp is, you know, at least this shrimp is fairly cheap nowadays. So, you know, eat as much as you feel comfortable with. And again, you don't have to use shrimp. You can use chicken. You can use so many other different things in this, whatever you got available. The sauce is going to be better with those shrimp skins. Or shrimp peels, but you know, you can make it without and still have a really nice flavorful tomato broth that will work just great with chicken and grits or whatever else you want to do. So let's start into the peeling. I'm going to show you my method. These are actually going to be really easy because they're already deveined. But if I was going to devein them, you know, you're going to be looking at something pretty similar to this. I couldn't find head on shrimp, but if there was a head, it would be here. They're fairly well attached. And what you want to do for a devein is you just want to run a knife right down the back from the last segment of the tail up to the head, and that splits the shell like this, which makes it pretty easy to just sort of peel off. And I'm just going to show you. I mean, it all just comes off in one piece. You do want to leave that last tail segment on, just because it makes a really nice sort of handle. You know, because we're going to arrange these all around the plate with these tails up in the air. They're going to kind of look like a flower because they're going to solidify when they cook. And then, you know, if people want to eat with their hands, which is totally acceptable, they can just pick them right up and eat them. You know, you get to have a spoon in one hand, shrimp it in the other, and just dip, 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 dip. So yeah, so there's one. We're just going to do 16, like I said. And you do want to reserve your shells as well. So I'm actually just going to leave these in here. Pick the ones that look the best to you. And what I like to start with the tail away from me. And then I'll start on the smallest segment first, and I'll just work one side entirely and get all those little leggies ripped off. Oh, that's right. I forgot these are already deveined. Okay, so that's the way I'd do it if I hadn't deveined them already. I'd work from the legs side, but I forgot these are already deveined. So You actually want to work from the back side in this case and sort of come around. But if they weren't deveined, I'd be working from the leg side. I'd rip all the legs off here, and then I'd sort of peel the whole thing off to the other side, keeping the tail and the head intact if possible. Okay, cool. But yeah, since they're already deveined, you actually want to work the exact opposite way. You want to go from the head side first, and you want to get that whole side all together in one piece, and then try and just peel all the legs off with it, just like that. Perfect. And you do want to save those. They are going to be very, very good for our stock. I'm just going to sort of show you how I do this a couple more times. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, if you miss a segment, that's okay. You can go back and get it. But you do want to make sure you save them. They're going to be a nice little addition to our stock. Give us some of that great shrimpy flavor. Again, if you don't like that, if you don't want that, don't do it. You know, that is always my mantra: is do what you find pleasurable, and nothing else, basically. I might end up peeling all of these just because we are making a fairly large portion of sauce, and so you know, the more shrimp we have, the better. And leftover sauce is always good. It's pretty easy to make grits again. And again, you can sort of do any protein you like. So, you know, if you have some leftover sauce, you can just make it again the next day. I'm gonna pick the biggest ones. I always like the big juicy shrimps. All right. Cool. I lost count. I hope one of you guys is counting. I think we're on 6. But we'll get another check. And you're going to want about, you know, a pound of shrimp for this. I could have put that in the recipe as well, but you know, shrimp comes in different sizes. You have, and the sizes are a number, and the number is how many you get per pound. And I believe one of those numbers is 1620s, and that's what you want to buy. You want to buy a pound of those, and you're going to be right in the money for this dish. I could not find a pound, so I had to buy 2, which is a little unfortunate. But you know, nobody's really ever going to cry over extra shrimp, so we will make it work. That's for sure. Awesome. These peels are looking great. Just gonna keep going until I feel pretty confident I have at least 16. And you know, sometimes they come right off, which is really, really nice. I'm a big fan of that, just in general. You can be pretty rough with these. These are, you know, they're pre-cut, they're pre-deveined, so that makes life a lot easier. You know, if we were trying to keep the heads on, we'd want to be a little bit more gentle. Those heads are attached to this little piece right here on the shrimp, but you know, if you're too rough with it, they will just come right off. So let's see this one right here. All right, let's do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 shrimp. Awesome. That is just right. Let's make it an even 18 just because we're splitting it between 2 or 4 people. I guess 18 wouldn't be even, but that's okay. We'll go 20. I'm just kind of going for these shells for the stock at this point. The more shells I have, the better it's gonna taste, the more shrimpy it's gonna be, and that's really what we're going for. We want the sauce to not only be delicious, tomatoey, and spicy, but we want it to have a little bit of shrimp going on in it. So people almost, you know, even if there was no shrimp on the dish, they'd still feel, or maybe they eat all their shrimp at the beginning, they still feel like, oh man, this is still shrimp and grits, you know, even if there's no protein on there. So just wash my hands real quick, and we're gonna jump right in. So I got my shrimp ready to go. Just gonna take those out of the scene here. Make sure we've got a nice setup here on my cutting board and my pan. Beautiful, looks good. We're just gonna break down shallots, scallions, and garlic. These are gonna be the base for our sauce. I'm gonna use this whole bulb of garlic. You guys can use as much as you want. I wasn't joking. I have my recipe too. I'm not sure if Virginia transcribed it exactly, but when I said 2 to 40 tablespoons of garlic, I wasn't kidding. You can put 40 tablespoons of garlic in this. I'm not gonna, like, it's not gonna hurt it at all. It's going to be beautiful. It's gonna be deep. It's gonna be really, really, really garlicky. But that's something that's really great when you're dealing with something that's so intensely flavored, like shrimp and seafood in general tends to have a pretty intense flavor. If you're not talking about, you know, like a white fish, you can work with other intense flavors and let them be intense. And so, you know, 40 tablespoons of garlic may seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, that shrimp is going to come through much stronger, and the garlic will be strong, sure, but it'll have a nice balance. And so when you're dealing with intense flavors, you get to go kind of crazy on your intense flavors. And so put as much in there as you feel comfortable using. Again, I'm using a whole bulb, which is probably going to be somewhere around like maybe 5 or 8 tablespoons. But, if you have like pre-chopped garlic that like, is in water, those big jugs, just like put as much in there as you feel comfortable. We're going to blend this all up, so you don't have to worry about the texture at all. The flavor is going to be very nice and intense. Just a matter of how much you like garlic. And again, you can put no garlic in there if you want, but I would put at least 2 tablespoons. It really is a fabulous flavor. It's pretty well known. Garlic tends to end up in Creole cuisine. The holy trinity is peppers, onions, and celery. We're not using any of those right now, but garlic always tends to sort of end up in there as sort of the cousin, if you will, to that trinity. It's just a really great flavor, and it's also really good for you. Talk about a medicinal sauce. Like, this sauce is medicinal. It's got a lot of herbs and seeds and spices that are good for you. If we threw a little bit of turmeric in there, it would be automatically anti-inflammatory. And so, if you want to put turmeric in there, if you really like turmeric, go for it. The dish, that, as I know it, doesn't have any in it. I didn't really want to overpower the sauce. Turmeric can have a pretty intense, sort of earthy, almost dirt-like flavor. And so with this, we're, like I said, we're dealing with intense flavors. You can play with intense flavors, but I'd be more inclined to put turmeric in large quantities in here if I was doing a lot of garlic. If I was going really heavy on the garlic, I'd really lean into that intensity, and I'd probably put a couple tablespoons of turmeric in here with my paprika and make it almost medicinal at that point. Take little shots of it or something. All right, beautiful. So there's our garlic, and I'm really not going to do anything more than that. I may just a quick little chop in half, because we are going to blend this later. I just want to be able to get a little bit of brown on the sides of this. So that's really all you need to do for the garlic. Shallots and scallions are going to be pretty same. We're just going to top the shallot, cut it in half the long ways. And when I say long ways, shallots often have 2 bulbs in there. So you want to cut both the bulbs in half. Don't cut it this way and have half one bulb cut through. You want to cut through both bulbs. It's just going to make it easier for you to chop it. Now, we're not dicing this, but it's just a good sort of mindset to get in anytime you cut a shallot, to cut it like you would if you were dicing it. And when you're dicing it, you want it to be as whole as possible, so that downward pressure doesn't make it sort of slip apart and just become a huge mess for you. We're just going to literally cut this into giant chunks, though, so it doesn't really matter. But setting up your mind for success in the future is always worthwhile. So I'm just going to go right down the middle and then into chunks like that. Pretty easy. We really just want it small enough so that it'll cook in a decent amount of time and get a little bit of color on it. All right, I'm going to turn this on now. So we're almost there. We're starting. And then scallions, pretty easy. You can just want to cut off the root end. If you're feeling really cool about it and you have a bunch more scallions than I do, you can actually cut them at the top of the whites, where the whites turn to green. You can put them in some water and put them in a sunny light, and they'll actually grow new green stalks, which is really fun. These are a little bit wilted, which is fine. Again, we're turning them into sauce. We're not going to eat them whole or raw, like on top of a dish as a garnish. So it's totally okay. I'm just going to leave those on there. I'd only take off something that's dry. We don't want anything dry. We are going to pass our sauce eventually through a strainer, so it shouldn't really matter. But dry onion it doesn't really taste good. It's just dry. It tends to take moisture out of a dish, and we want to have a decent amount of moisture in this dish. So if any of your sort of skins are dry, go ahead and peel those off. And we'll do a nice little rough chop here. It really can just be super rough. You don't need anything crazy. We're just going to toss the ends. Awesome. So that's it. So those are our aromatics: shallots, scallion, and garlic. Really tasty. Scallion is not classically in this dish, but I do find that it has a really nice flavor, as well as it thickens the sauce as well. The greens here have like a little bit of a goop in them that can be work as a thickener, almost like a gumbo filet. But you can just use normal onions as well. And the sauce is going to be pretty thick without it. And worst case scenario, You can always mount some butter in there to thicken it, or do any number of other different things, including like cornstarch if you're worried it's going to be too thin. But this should be plenty thick. It's a pretty thick sauce. A scale of love, indeed, I did. It is a scale of love. It's really sort of where you want to be. Cool. So yeah, now while we're doing that, we're just gonna make life easy for us. While this heats up. Okay, that's a thick bottom. I'm just gonna measure out my the next step, which is the herbs. All right, so the next sort of addition here is going to be our crushed red pepper, coriander, celery seeds, and fennel seeds. Oof, dry throat. I haven't been talking much. So coriander is going to be a tablespoon. I get some really nice coriander seed. Coriander, if you are not familiar with it, is the seed of the cilantro plant. And it tastes a little bit like cilantro, but it's really its own unique flavor. And I said crushed because I really want it to be full. If you're using powdered coriander, I'd use maybe half as much because these things are hollow. If you really want to, you can sort of crush them into the bowl, but it tends to get messy, so I wouldn't do that. But just make sure that your tablespoon is completely full. Really sort of crunch them down in there. There's a lot of empty space in there, so you don't want to skimp yourself. And we really are trying to make this dish be very, very intense. The sauce is a beast of flavor, and that's what we want. We want it to be really intense because we're really not going to season much anything else. The shrimp already have a little bit of salt just from being, saltwater animals. So we're not going to add any more salt in there. There's a little bit of olive oil in there. It's already smoking. That's good. When you turn the fan on, ooh, that's hot. We're going to go in there with garlic first. Oh, it smells so much better. Woo! Nice. Yeah, we want this to be really intense. That's already toasting up. This is working with a hot stove like this is it changes the pace of cooking. While I'm doing this, I'm just gonna get my back heated up, so I'm ready to transfer over there. Sweet. Gonna go in with my shallots and the bottoms of my green onions. That's the solid part. You don't want too much of the greens in there. Spatula here. You may notice I'm not putting any salt in this at all. We're gonna salt the broth after it's done cooking, after we blend it, after it's sort of back in a pot, and we're adding in the pepper and butter if we decide to. That's where I'm gonna salt it. Once I can really get a flavor. I don't want to salt it now and then find out that my shrimp skins were super salty, or maybe I bought a crushed tomato that had a whole bunch of salt in it that I didn't realize. So don't season it too early. You really do want to wait. Beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just keep measuring these spices. So it's a tablespoon of coriander, and we're gonna do a teaspoon of fennel and a teaspoon of celery seed. You can go pretty heavy on these, and if you have actual fennel, you can also put that in there too. In this step right here, the aromatics, instead of the fennel seed, you could put a half a bulb of fennel or a very small bulb of fennel in there as well. If you did that though, you either want to take one of these out or just put a little bit more water in there because it's going to add more pith, and we want to make sure that we have enough liquid to blend this, and so that it's not a paste. We're not making a paste. We're trying to make a sauce, so you want to make sure you have enough liquid. So it's a teaspoon of celery or a fennel seed, teaspoon of celery seed. Both really, really tasty. I'm gonna turn that heat off because my stove is crazy. Thick bottom pots though save my life on that regard. They hold the heat really well. It means I can sort of turn my my temperature down and still cook, which is not always easy. All right, beautiful. So we have celery, fennel. What did I put on my list? Celery, fennel, coriander. We need smoked paprika, and crushed red pepper. So I got some crushed red pepper right here. This is some nice, very, very spicy pepper from some Morning Glory Farm peppers. You can use Italian crushed red pepper. You can use hot sauce if you want to, but you definitely want to get that in there. And then finally smoked paprika. I hesitated I almost put 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika in here because I really love the flavor, but it can be really overwhelming. And we do want to taste the shrimp. We don't want to taste just paprika. So I went to a tablespoon and a half. Tablespoon is probably the safest, but again, it's just such a good flavor. It goes really good with the black pepper. So I think a tablespoon and a half is probably the winner, personally. But do whatever you feel comfortable with. All right, beautiful. So now we're going to get to a very dangerous part right here. If you don't have a hood pen, cover your mouth because things are going to get crazy. I'm going to put these greens in there now. Start those wilting down. And before you put your spices in here, you're going to want to make sure you have your tomatoes ready to go. So get your can opener out and crack your can of tomatoes. So I didn't put this in the recipe. I just said a can of tomatoes. I should have said a big can of tomatoes. If you only have 1 can of tomatoes, like a smaller, like half size of this, I think this is a 1 pound, 12 ounces. A lot of times tomato cans come in like a smaller version that's basically half the size. If you only got one of those, feel free to use it. What I would do is I would just put an extra tablespoon of tomato paste in there and just up your water by a cup, and you'll be totally fine. The tomatoes are really more of a seasoning in this. They're going to be they're the broth essentially. Sometimes you do veggie broth or something like this. This is your base, your broth base. So tomato paste works just fine for sort of creating that experience as well. Did I just put my can opener away? What did I do? Oh, here it is. Aha. Get your tomato paste cracked as well. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Get tomato paste. You can use any kind of tomatoes you want. I got organic. San Marzano, that's how you say it, are pretty popular. A lot of people like to use those. You can use crushed tomatoes. You can use whole tomatoes. You can use tomatoes you got from your own garden that you canned. You can use tomatoes that you found on sale that were whole. You can use pretty much anything. You just want to. It's all about the liquid. So if your sauce ends up being too thick for whatever reason, add some more liquid in there. These are pretty liquidy tomatoes, so I think this is going to be perfect. That's why I got them. Diced tomatoes tend to be the best sort of pith to liquid ratio. But do what you feel comfortable with. All right, so we're going to go ahead and toast our spices. We're just going to put them right in there. I'm actually going to put a little bit more olive oil in there just to help the spices toast. Ooh, darn. Try not to breathe. Woo! You're really doing this just to sort of open up the flavor of those seeds, get their oils running. You're gonna have something that's kind of dry looking like that, and that's what you want. You want those veggies to be coated. Ooh, I shouldn't take that out. Ooh, don't be crazy. Don't take it out from underneath the vent fan. And you're gonna know you don't really want to burn it, so keep them on there for a bit. You do want to get that flavor coming. It's gonna smoke a little bit, and then as soon as you can't take it anymore, go ahead and put your liquid in there. Woo! That's what we're talking about. All right. So that tomato is immediately going to lower the pan temperature. Going to bring it down to a simmer almost. Oh yeah. All right. And that's just going to immediately look delicious. And I mean, like realistically, you could stop right there. You're done. You've got a sauce. But we're gonna hook it up. Guys, I forgot to put the shrimp shells in. So what you should have done there is put the shrimp shells in first. They would have released a lot of liquid and deglazed the pan, and then you would have put the tomatoes in. But sometimes you don't cook right. So I got my shrimp shells. I'm going to put them in right now. It would have also started to cook the outside of the shrimp, which would have been really nice to bring out a little extra flavor. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right, that is looking so good. Okay, so shrimp shells are in. We just need 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'll put a little extra in just because I really like tomato paste. I would literally just eat this on toast if given the opportunity. Oh, it's so good. And then we're gonna go for a quart of water. I just got a quart container here. Double check our recipe. Always a good idea to double check your recipe whenever you get a chance. We got scallions, we got shallot, we got garlic, we got crushed red pepper, we have coriander, celery seed, fennel seed, smoked paprika, tomatoes, tomato paste, shrimp shells. Good thing I checked that out. We want ketchup, water, wine, and vinegar. Awesome. So I have my water. I don't have wine. I usually don't cook with wine. I like to drink it more, but I do have some rice wine vinegar, which I think is going to be nice. Can add a little bit of sweetness. So I'm going to go for a quarter cup, which is going to be 4 tablespoons. So just boop, 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 boop. It's really nice. And I don't actually, I have some ketchup, but I found this really cool sauce at the store the other day, Yo's chili sauce. And it looks like ketchup, right? But it tastes like almost like a hot sauce. It's really good. So I'm going to use that. Feel free to use ketchup though. You really just want something that's vinegary and has and thick. So ketchup is perfect for that. But in this case, I'm using this chili sauce because I really love the flavor. I think it's gonna add to this. It kind of reminds me of like a 1950s I don't know, like old school ketchup, like Heinz chili sauce or whatever. It just gave me those vibes, and so that's why I thought about using it to replace the ketchup. It's really, really good, by the way. I don't know if you guys want to look. I don't know. I found it in Worcester, but if you look around the internet and you find it, it is like it's kind of sweet like ketchup, but it's I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's really flipping good. All right, so we're gonna get this going. This is looking good. Give it a good stir. Oh, it's so tasty. And then we're gonna hit it with the water. All right. Get in there, water. This pot is gonna be pretty full. Beautiful. Oh, yes. So we're gonna cook this and we're gonna reduce it a little bit. And we're gonna let all those flavors meld and metal and be absolutely beautiful. It's not going to take too long, 10 minutes maybe at most. I might even just leave it on here and let it hard boil. You can simmer it if you want, but that water really dropped the temp. So I do want this to cook fairly quickly. So I think I'm just going to let it hard boil and reduce just a touch. But yeah, realistically, this is kind of done already. It really just needs time for those shrimp shells to release their flavor, cook down a bit, and get soft enough so that we can blend them up. We are going to pass them. And you'll see there's going to be some stuff left over. It's really fun. I'm a big fan of using strainers. I actually haven't had a fine mesh strainer in quite a long time. I just bought a new one. I was going to buy what's called a chinois or a china cap, which is probably one of the most racist kitchen utensils ever. But I had to get a fine mesh because the chinois that they had was very coarse, and I didn't want pieces of shrimp. And so yeah, chinois is a fun one. It's the French word for Chinese, and it was one of like the original sort of blenders. Basically, you used to, steam or boil your potatoes or whatever, and then you'd pass them through a chinois. That was kind of how you made things smooth, and we still use it pretty regularly in professional kitchens. A fine mesh strainer like this you might have at your house works just as well. Chinois is really nice because it's got a point. And so it's just easier to pass things because you can be really aggressive and things will come out the sides as well. And even though they come out the sides, they all come down to the bottom of the cone. And so it's easier to get them into smaller containers as well. So a fine mesh strainer, if you don't have one, I highly suggest getting one. It's kind of like a big difference between a sort of basic sauce or soup that you may make at home and serve your family that has a little bit of fiber in it, or maybe that one chunk that you didn't blend. And something you're going to get at a restaurant that's just like impeccably smooth and has this beautiful mouthfeel. So if you want to elevate your game, pass your soups and sauces through a fine mesh strainer. It will change the texture entirely and give you something that's really, really smooth and make all your friends impressed. Let's see. What do you do with that leftover can of tomato paste and how long does it last? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you can totally freeze it. That's a great idea. Honestly, what I'm going to do with it though is I'm going to make barbecue sauce, and I'm going to or maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I've been making a lot of dumplings lately, so I might put it in with some cabbage and some venison and do like a tomato-based, like a barbecue-based pot stick. So But yeah, you can really use it in anything. It'll last for a really long time though. Tomatoes will mess with the lining though a little bit once you get oxygen mixed in there. So you don't want to leave it in the can for too long. You're probably going to want to put it in something else to store it. But it lasts for a really long time. It's basically a preservative or a jam at that point. So, all right, this is coming up to a boil, which is good. That's what I wanted. Oh yeah. That looks so good. Let's go right over here. All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and separate my shrimp now. I totally I have a free bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. All right. I really like peel and eat. Oh yeah, see that's got some nice boil going. It's good. We can see all this liquid coming off. It's exactly what we want. Just here, awesome. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna hard boil it. Sometimes I like make plans for timing and stuff, and then they change um, mid experience. Realistically, if you were like cooking this for dinner, you'd probably want to make this sauce beforehand, and then just have it, in its fresh form on the stove to heat up and sort of plate. But I like to show you guys everything, so that's why we're doing it right now. So yeah, in this case, we're not crunched for time, but we want dinner. I think a hard boil is going to work just fine, and we're going to actually get in there and just give it a little taste as well, just to see what our base is looking like. And the flavor is going to change a lot, once we blend all those vegetables into it. But what the broth tastes like right now is going to be a good sort of indicator for about where you're at. Trying not to get any seeds. Let's see what we got. It smells great. Oh, so good. Yep, that's good. Cool. Oh man. So I put quite a lot of water in there, right? And like I haven't been eating a lot of salt, so my taste buds are definitely, more attuned right now. But that tastes great. That doesn't taste like I need any salt. I definitely am gonna put black pepper in there because if you notice, there's no black pepper in it right now. We're putting that in right before service like I'm in the kitchen right before serving it because I want that flavor to be really intense. Black pepper can cook and the chemicals can sort of meld really well if you cook it for a long time. But I want it to be fresh. I want it to be spicy, like that fresh black pepper crunch. I want that. If you don't want that, you can put the black pepper in right now. Don't let me stop you. Or just skip it entirely, depending how much you like black pepper. I love it, and so I want it to be really fresh and intense. And so that's what we're going to do when the time comes. So yeah, I'm going to let that boil away. And I think I'm going to actually start my grits. So I cheated. Don't tell anyone. If I hadn't cheated, I would be cooking grits. I would have cooked grits like immediately because they take about half an hour. But I got quick grits because there's literally no difference. A lot of times, like parboiled rice, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't really mind like quick oats and stuff like that. When it comes to grits, quick grits, honestly, I think are superior. You guys can hate me if you want, or whoever chef watches this in 100 years and is like, this guy's crazy. I think quick grits are better. I don't want to wait half an hour for grits. 20 minutes for rice sometimes is too much for me. But I don't really like parboiled rice because I want brown rice, and they never make parboiled brown. Quick grits is basically the exact same product. It just cooks faster. It's been par cooked. I don't know exactly. I think it's like hot steam or something like that, so that it evaporates after it cooks it. But they cook super fast. They have almost the exact same nutritional value. In fact, they actually have less calories than normal grits because some of the nutritional value is cooked out. And now normally I'd be against that. I'm a big fan of using skin and nutritional value, but we're talking about grits here. It's corn. It's white corn. There's no nutritional value in here apart from its sugar calories or carbohydrate calories. So you're not really losing a lot if you cook some of that off. In fact, you're gaining the fact that you can eat more grits. So in most cases, I'm not really a fan of things like that, pre-processed cooked things, because they take off a lot of the nutrients. But with something like this, like something like grits, where it's really not about the nutrients, it's about the calories and having a little bit of a beautiful sort of crunch. I really like the grits because they also cook for less time, which means it's much easier to make them al dente. I love grits that actually are gritty. And when you cook grits for 20 minutes to half an hour, sometimes you can overcook them, sometimes you can undercook it, and it's just horrible. You run a greater risk of losing that grittiness. But with something like this, where I'm only going to cook this for 5 minutes, I know if I cook it for 4.5 minutes, it's going to be the perfect amount of grittiness that I like. Whereas with a big long cooking process, there's so many different things that could go wrong. So I like quick grits. That's my little spiel. Make myself feel better about buying them. I love them. I think they're better than normal grits. Don't tell my chef. Anyways, so quick grits. It's a really simple recipe. You bring water to a boil, you add grits, and you stir. You can put butter in there. You can put salt in there. You can put all sorts of flavoring in there. I'm not going to, because like I said earlier, this dish is 100% about the sauce. That is the only thing that we care about having flavor. We're going to put some flavor onto the shrimp for sure, but we want these grits to taste like basically nothing, because the sauce is going to be so intense. It's going to be really, really flavorful, really, really spicy. Well, sort of spicy, and have a lot of really, really good flavors that we like. And so the way that we're going to sort of counteract that is we're going to under season the rest of the dish. That way, when you have it all together, the sauce hits you really good, and you get a really you're like, oh no, the sauce is too seasoned. But then what's going to happen is you're going to start eating it. You're going to start eating it, and you're going to realize that no, that sauce is actually perfect this season. So grits are a 1 to 4 grain. So that means we're going to use 4 cups of water and 1 cup of grits. This pot won't fit all that, so I'm actually going to use 2 cups of water and half cup of grits. So we're just going to get our water right now. Hot water might make our process a little easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just a little bit extra. And I pretty much always have a half. And maybe I can fit it. I'm going for it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Make more grits. So I'm gonna go for it. I'm going for 4 cups. I think this is actually like the perfect size for this, actually. So we're gonna get that boiling. Oh my gosh, everything smells so good in here right now. I like grits. They can be solidified. It's very similar to polenta. Some would say they're basically the same thing. It's a ground grit, ground corn meal. It's a thick corn. You cook it. You can do this, like you can make grits with just crushed tortilla chips. Like the ultimate quick grits is boiled water. You put in some crushed tortilla chips, and you have quote unquote grits. Now, that's probably closer to polenta. But at the end of the day, any sort of grit, corny porridge, or there's wheat, there's cracked wheat as well, is a very similar texture. That's going to work really good for you. Basically, do whatever you like. Farro, I think, has like a cracked variety now that people are using for kind of grits. Einkorn, I know, is a really fun sort of heirloom grain that you can get cracked and will work really good for grits. So just have fun with your grits, with your porridge, if you will. What I was going to say is I always have a half cup measure here. I usually don't have a full cup. I know I have one in the kitchen, but I can always just count multiple times, and half cup tends to be a lot more versatile. It's usually got a halfway mark for a quarter cup, and then you can just do 2 of them for a full cup. So anytime I'm cooking, not baking, anytime I'm cooking, I tend to have a half cup and a tablespoon. Those are probably like my 2 most favorite things to just like eyeball spices, if I'm not following a recipe, which I often don't. Let's go ahead and put some stuff away. I did bring out the thyme. I think I'm going to skip it though. You know what? We'll save it. Maybe we'll put some in with the black pepper at the end. That's the other thing too about the black pepper at the end is you're going to have actual chunks of black pepper in there. Everything else is going to get passed through that fine mesh strainer, so we're not going to have any chunks. But putting the black pepper in later means we're going to have actual black pepper in the dish as opposed to just little specks of flavor like we're going to have with all of our other spices. So we put this chili sauce away. Really, really good chili sauce, if you can find it. Cool, we're just waiting for our water to come to a boil here. The sauce is already starting to reduce, which is good. Beautiful. One thing I really like about grits too is they stay hot for a really, really long time. They're almost like molten. Um, like, you know, you like the outside will get sort of congealed. You'll dig your spoon in there. You're like, oh, it's totally fine. And then the inside is just like just burning. And so that's the reason why we're cooking them now. We're probably like 15-ish minutes away from like plating, but they're gonna be done in 5. And it doesn't matter. Like they'll stay hot for almost an hour if you don't touch them. Well, every time you stir them, you let out some heat, but if you don't touch them, they form sort of like a little skin, and they stay hot for so long. So I'm gonna make my grits with a whisk. I personally like it this way. You can use a spoon if you want. I just find a whisk works easier, especially since I decided to go crazy and try and do an entire, 4-cup batch. So it'll be worth it though in the end. All right, this is starting to look pretty good. I might take this off the heat and get our sauce done. Let's just take a little look at some of our vegetables. If you don't know if the sauce is done, look at one of your veggies that you put in there and just give it a little squish. If it's done, I just tried one of the green onions. It's super soft. It basically fell apart in my mouth, which tells me that the sauce is done. So we're gonna go ahead and we're actually gonna process the sauce right now. I like this dish a lot because it's, oftentimes if you guys have come and seen me before, we're often really sort of crunched for time. I'm like doing one thing right into another, right into another. This dish is definitely it's a little more laid back. There's really not a massive amount going on at any individual time. It's something you can really sort of relax and enjoy cooking. I find at least. I literally just talked about grits with you for like 10 minutes, so that's how you can tell that it's sort of a little bit more laid back. All right, so you're not gonna be able to see this. You are gonna be able to hear it though. I'm gonna put this in my blender and process it. So let's go ahead and turn that off first of all, and give it one little stir here. Stir. All right, that is just looking really good, and it's thicker too than it was before. It was kind of thin for a while, but now like it moves differently in the pan. That's a good sort of way to tell that it's ready to go. So I got a little ladle here as well. We're gonna use this later for plating, but it's gonna work really good right now for transferring this to the blender. If you have, I just have like a basic blender. If you have like a what do they call it? NutriFast or not? Really good ones that like say they'll cook soup for you, whatever. It's gonna make much shorter work for this, but we're gonna let it blend for a good while. We are gonna pass it, so we don't have to go too crazy, but we want it to be nice and smooth and delicious. It's going to be really good. Yeah, I'm excited that you're branching out. It's one of the big parts of us doing this is that we want people to be able to try new things and have fun with it. And so we're putting everything in this blender, all the chunks, the shrimp skins too. I know maybe I might have scared some of you saying we're going to put shrimp skins in the sauce, but I'm telling you, it's going to be so worth it in the end. They had a lot of calcium too. They really do have a lot of nutritional value. Like I said, I usually like to have high nutritional value food. It was definitely awkward for me to realize that I like quick grits better. And don't fill your blender all the way. I'm going to show you the cup actually over here just so you can sort of take a peek at it. You don't want to fill it all the way because it is going to rise a bit because it's so hot. So we're going to put all our chunky stuff in there. We're going to get our chinois or our strainer in a bowl that it fits, just like that. So we're ready to go. And we're going to blend here. I'm probably going to lose you guys a little bit because it's going to be loud. I'll be back in a second. All right, so that's the first batch done. I'm just going to show you what it looks like in a spoon here, just so you can kind of see. It's really nice and thick. It's chunky. It's beautiful, and I'm sure it tastes absolutely amazing. I'm not going to eat it like that. You can eat it like this. Like, there's nothing wrong with eating it like this. Like, eating shrimp shells is fine. I do it all the time. But we want it to be nice and smooth and flavorful. So I'm just going to pour that into the strainer. I'm going to let that sit while I do my second batch, and then we're going to actually pass it through. And passing it through involves like scraping it against the bottom, making sure everything goes through the strainer. Don't want to waste any of that liquid, any of that flavor. So this should be able to be done in 2 batches. It's a pretty big, like I said, it's a pretty big batch of sauce. You'll probably have leftovers. That is on purpose. This sauce is so freaking good. You're gonna want more, guaranteed. All right, now that it's safe, I can just pour it in there. Perfect. Take this and scrape my pan. Don't want to waste anything. Oh, it smells so good. I'm like, as I'm smelling this, I'm realizing I probably could have spiced it even heavier, which is like, I tried to, keep it sane, but you can really go to town in this. You can put so much spice in there. You can put, more herbs, more actual spice, more, pepper and everything like that. All right, here I go again. So my water was boiling. So I went ahead and put my grits in there. You don't want to let your water boil for too long because then it will actually lose water. And that's why I put a little bit extra water in there in the first place. But if there's not enough water in there, your grits will be too thick. You don't want that. So as soon as it boils, put your grits in there. You don't want to mess around with that. It'll immediately start to thicken. You want to turn it down to medium low, basically a simmer. And you want to just stir pretty regularly. You'll see that the grits will immediately start to hydrate, start to thicken into a nice little porridge. It gets really, really good. And once they get fully hydrated, I'm actually gonna put a little more, just a touch more in there. I can just tell I think this is gonna be a little thin, but that's okay. That's why I put a little more in there. You want to get it into a simmer, and that way it'll sort of bubble away. And it gets really dangerous with a small pot like this. It starts to bubble, and it does like the lava thing where it goes bloop, and just gets all over the place. So you definitely want to pay attention to it. But that's good. I'm gonna pour out this next batch here. Oh yeah, so good. Just gonna shake it all out. Don't let any of that go to waste. Beautiful. Okay, we're just gonna pop this over here. Give these another little stir. Oh yeah, they're starting to get really thick. I'm just gonna set my timer for 4 minutes. It's been about a minute, let's say. The package says 5 to 7 minutes. I'm gonna cook these until I think they look like grits. Actually, let's do 2:30 time. They're already starting to look like grits, so I'm just gonna show you real quick. So they were very, very liquidy at first, and now hopefully you can actually see what's going on here. They're starting to get thick already, and those are like almost done. I love quick grits so much. Oh my gosh, it just makes life so much easier. Normal grits are just such a pain. They sit there and they bubble, 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 bubble. They get all over the place. They're dangerous. They like burn your arms when you're trying to cook them. If I had to and I had like my own corn cracker and I was like cracking it myself, like yeah, I'd do normal grits, 100%. If I like had my own corn or something like that, but I have a grocery store. I don't have any way of getting grits that are like really, really good right now. Not where we're at. If I lived near a grit farm or something like that, I'd buy normal grits. But with what I had, with what was available to me, quick grits was the best option. It pretty much is always going to be, unless you know somebody who's making their own, grits, or if you have a local mill or something like that. So, buy local, buy normal grits if you have the opportunity. They're going to taste better. But if you're, your choice is between, brand A normal grits and brand A quick grits, get the quick grits. It's just going to make your life easier. And at the end of the day, it honestly is a better product, I think. All right, let's get a spoon here. Do these a little try. They're going to be really hot. So if you're trying them like me, be super duper careful. Put them out on the counter and let them cool before you try and eat them. Do not eat them out of the spoon. They will burn your mouth. These are looking really good. Yeah, we got a minute left on that. I think I'm going to call it at 2.5. Because again, remember, I want them to be a little bit crunchy still, if possible. Oh, they're so good. Oh my God, I love grits. Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, these are going to be done. Oh, they're so good. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. I got 17 seconds left, but it's electric, so it's going to cook a little bit more, but it's going to keep them warm. They're going to finish cooking. They're already pretty much done. You can see they're pretty thick. Sticking to my that's grits. That's what you want. Again, if you wanted to, you could put butter in right now. You could put salt, pepper, anything pretty much you want. I want them to be bland. I want them to taste like nothing but corn, because our sauce is going to be our winner on this one, 100%. All right, great. So passing a sauce. Some of it's already passed through. That's the most liquid stuff. But we want to get some of those chunks that we blended up. We don't want it to be completely smooth. We want it to have a couple chunks. We want it to have some pieces of, onion and stuff in there. So what we're going to do is what's called passing. And you take something flat like this, and you're going to scrape it against the sides of your strainer. What I like to do is usually start at the bottom and just sort of in slow little motions, keep it flat against the bottom and stir it up against the side. What that's going to do is that's going to force some of the smaller particles through the fine mesh, while keeping all the large particles like seeds, if there were in here, or the bigger pieces of shrimp shell that we don't want. Most of the shrimp shell is pretty fibrous, so it's probably going to get stuck in this mesh. But the big stuff's going to go through us, right? I probably should raise this up because it's probably right in the sauce. And so if you can see, it's sort of dripping out the bottom. That's what we want. With the chinois, it would all be coming out of one hole, which is really kind of the reason the chinois is so great. We're just going to scrape down the sides now. And then go back to sort of scraping our bottom. What you're going to find is that your liquid in the strainer is going to get thicker and thicker and thicker as whatever can pass through does pass through. You're eventually going to get to a point where you have to, where you can't pass anymore. Nothing else is going to fit through the mesh that is in there. You're going to end up with a little bit of a paste. And that paste is really good. Like, you can use it as a condiment. If you don't mind the shrimp skins in there, you can use it as it goes really good in compost as well. You can, if you have like a dehydrator, you can like spread it out thin on like a silicone pad and dehydrate it. It makes almost like a little shrimp, like a little tomato shrimp sort of jerky, not jerky, like leather almost. It's a really good seasoning too. It's got all those seasoning shells in there. We haven't used everything. We won't use most of it. So as you can see, I've got something that's pretty thick right now that's left in here, and I'm gonna keep going because I do want to get as much of it out as I can. But you'll know it's pretty obvious when you've done enough. It really it'll stop going through there. It'll stop making, stop getting smaller. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do it against the sides here like this to get more surface area and make sure I get as much out as possible. This is called passing, is what you're in a kitchen, they say, pass that through a chinois or pass that through a strainer. This is what they're talking about. I do this with avocado as well. You can pass avocado through a strainer, makes a really, really nice puree. If you wanted to, not have any little fibery bits. There's a lot of different things you can pass. A squash soup, if you're ever doing like a ginger carrot squash soup, a really fine thing you could do is when you're done and you've blended it all up, is to pass it just like this. And it really just it makes the mouth feel so much better. Squash tends to have pretty long fibers, and so that really sort of just like gets them out of the picture. So this is looking pretty good. As you can see, like, I'm not really getting anywhere. What I have left is basically a paste. That means we're done. going to scrape the paste off on the side. I'm going to go to the bottom here, and I'm going to make sure I scrape the outside, because that thicker stuff, the stuff that's coming through in the end, is going to stick. And we want that. We want that in that sauce for sure. We're going to scrape that off. Make sure we get it all. That's all of our good flavor. And that is about right. Awesome. Beautiful. All right, sweet. So now I'm just going to show you the sauce. I'm just going to mix it all together because, again, you had the really liquidy stuff went through first, and then you have the sort of thicker stuff come through after that. So you want to make sure you reincorporate it all back together, make it into a nice little sauce. I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're going to taste it. Really important. You want to make sure you taste your sauce because we're about to season it, right? So we want to make sure that it's going to taste good. These grits are absolutely perfect. You can see they sort of started to form that skin again already. They're super duper thick. So I'm just going to give it one more stir, and then I won't touch those again until we're ready to plate. All right, so let's take a look at the sauce. I'm going to show you with the this. It's thick. It's pretty thick. You see, it coats the back of the spoon. That's what you want. Oh, it tastes so good. Oh my god. Woo! Okay, sweet. So now we're going to put this back in the pot that we used originally. And we're going to finish the sauce. You can have it just like that if you want. I do find that, I was trying to go low salt, and I think I am going to go low salt, but honestly, if I was serving this in a restaurant or something like that, I'd probably put 2 tablespoons of salt in this right now. Because again, I want it to be really, really intense. I'm not really seasoning anything else. I am currently on a low salt diet. So I'm actually going to turn off the fan for a second. Isn't that nice and quiet now? I'm on a low salt diet right now, so I'm probably not going to put any salt in here. I might put a little bit. But if you weren't and you just want something really intense, and if I was in a restaurant, I would put a lot more salt in here because you want it to be super duper intense. But that flavor right now for me is pretty ideal. I'm going to go back in there and just get a good little peek at it. Actually, I don't use this back there. So yeah, let me just get you a nice little close up of it too. It's good. It's thick. It's really good. It's almost like a tomato sauce. Oh, it tastes so good. So it's spicy. It's sweet because I use that rice wine vinegar. I'm just figuring it. So it's definitely spicy enough. Oh my god, that's so good. I think I definitely want a lot of black pepper, so I'm gonna go for that. I'm gonna do maybe let's say 2 tablespoons black pepper. I don't know if I showed you this before. It's one of my favorite little tricks. We're gonna do the pepper. A lot of times, I'll grind it over the top of the dish. But if you put it down on your cutting board like this, and you grind, it makes a nice little pile. And then you can kind of see how much you have before you put it in there. I think this is loose. There we go. Is that working? Something's going on with this. I guess I'm just gonna do it over here. It usually works better than that, but hey, so sometimes it doesn't work that well. So I'm gonna go about 2 tablespoons. I want it to be really, really peppery. Again, do what you feel comfortable with. But I'm going 2 tablespoons. And I think I'm gonna put a teaspoon of salt in there, just enough. You want it to have that very salt flavor, like tip of your tongue, really intense vibe when you first eat it, because the grits are going to absorb that flavor and pull that over salted out. While this is happening, I'm going to go ahead and heat up this pan right here because we are almost done, and I do want to make sure that my shrimp are cooked. Those are going to take almost no time at all. So that's about right for pepper. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Going to prepare ourselves for pepper or for the shrimp by cutting up some pepper or some butter here. Let's see, we're going to do that much for the shrimp. I think I'm going to mount some butter into my sauce as well, just a tablespoon, not a lot, but just enough to give it a little bit of body and a little bit of extra flavor. Make sure you get all the wax paper off. And what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting them into small pieces. They melt easier that way. You want butter to melt slowly, not quickly. Otherwise, it will break in your sauce. And you don't want broken butter. You want really nice, smooth milk fat, emulsified butter. Which is cool. We'll leave that butter there. Face down so my cat doesn't eat it. Cool. We'll get our lemon ready here. This actually wants to go higher. There we go. So there's our butter to mount. There's our butter for that. Just squeeze my lemon here. Awesome. That looks really good. I'm just going to use half of that. I'm going to juice it ahead of time just in case there's any seeds in there. Oh, this is a nice juicy one. Not just in case there's seeds. There's always seeds. Let's be honest. I haven't had a lemon without seeds in forever. I feel like limes are the only ones that are graced with no seeds. This one's pretty good though. I'm just going to juice this whole thing. I don't have to put it all in there, but it'd be nice to just have it all available. Check in with the chat here as we're finishing up. Make sure I'm not missing any good important questions, any teaching opportunities. Oh yeah. Okay, beautiful. Everything is looking good, coming together. I am excited for this dish. Sweet, got my shrimp pan heating up. I don't know what's going on with this back burner. You know what? I'm just going full bore. Let's do it. Maybe my back burner is breaking too now. Oh well. All right, let's bring that whisk back. Where did I put it? Oh wait, that's right. Okay, that's cool. We'll use this. So just stir in that black pepper, let it start to release its flavor. Again, I do want it to be pretty fresh. So I'm not going to cook this for too long. I'm really just bringing it back up to temperature, getting that black pepper incorporated. I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt in there. This is a lot of sauce, so it's okay that it's going to be salty. We didn't really have any other salt in there except for in the tomatoes. So that's going to be good. You want to be able to visibly see the black pepper in the sauce if possible. So I actually might put some more black pepper in there because this is a lot of sauce. Sometimes I have a hard time scaling back from my kitchen days cooking, and I make quite a lot of sauce. But trust me, you're not going to be sad that there's a lot of sauce. Again, we're not going to season the shrimp either. We really are only seasoning the sauce. So make sure to season it right now as much as you want to. Get it super tasty. With this pepper, more. Oh, that's what happened. Somebody turned it off, of course. Oh my gosh, that's why I couldn't feel it. Oh, that's so much better. More pepper. I think I changed my mind. I'm gonna put a little thyme in there. I was just thinking about how it tastes, and I think thyme is just always just a nice little flavor. And it'll add a couple little little leaves in there just to make it look pretty. All right, cool. My shrimp pan is ready. I'm just gonna take it off the heat for now. Stir this in. Put my little pieces of butter in there. And just stir them in until they're dissolved. I don't even need to keep this on anymore now that it's come to a boil. That electric's going to keep it going as I stir my butter in. Oh yeah. That is perfect. We're just going to give it a quick little taste. I do think, I was just thinking about it. I think I probably would go for 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika next time. Oh, that's good. Oh yeah. All right. That was, whoo. I think it's enough smoked paprika, but realistically I want more. And it's going to be a little bitter. That black pepper is going to add a little bit of bitterness, and that's what we're going for. So yeah, nice pairings, awesome. Leftovers, awesome. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Did I miss anything else before we get into these shrimp and plating? Okay, cool. All right, let's go. Here we go. We're gonna cook some shrimp. All right, so we're gonna do some oil. Gonna turn the fan back on. Nice even coating. You probably don't need as much oil as I put in there. In fact, you definitely don't need as much oil as I put in there. You're just going to arrange them all in here. Try and get all 16 in the pan. Go around the outside first and then work your way inside. Try and keep them all going the same way. It's going to help you to remember, which ones you flipped, which ones you haven't. It's also going to make a really nice spot for you to put them on the inside when you go. Give it a little tip. Make sure your oil is on the bottom of all of them. Put a little shaky shake. Beautiful. And I'll let those get nice and hot. Sweet. We are nearing completion. This is one of my favorite dishes to plate. I probably should cut up something delicious for garnish. Let's do a little Got a little extra scallion here, so I'm just gonna cut the greens off. Do a little bias cut here, just something to put on top. Make it look pretty. We'll do that in a little crack of black pepper. I think it'll be perfect. All right, so those are looking pretty good. I'm just gonna take a peek here. See, they're starting to get pink on the outside. That's what we want. Shrimp really don't take a lot of time to cook. Really just wanted to get a little bit of color. Perfect. Flipping them all. Okay, so they're on our other side. We're gonna go ahead and put the butter all throughout the pan. Let that start to melt. Fry the other side of the shrimp, which is what we want. Just tip your pan back and forth. Make sure that butter gets all over the shrimp. Oh yeah. Actually gonna turn my pan off in a second here when I put the lemon in. That butter is going to cook a lot faster too. You're basically starting to sort of deep fry them at this point. So yeah, so they're probably done right now. Awesome. I'm just going to sort of deglaze the pan with a little bit of this lemon juice. About half of what I did. And I'm going to turn this off. I'm just going to shake my shrimp. Shaky, 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 shake. That's going to coat them all with that lemon and butter. Make them delicious. Perfect. That is it. The shrimp are done. Just give you a little look at what one of them looks like. A little bit of juice, still super juicy, definitely cooked, but not overcooked, right? You don't want to overcook your shrimp. So we're good to go. Let's plate. So this is probably one of my favorite bowls. Oh no, is it in the dishwasher? 1 second, you gotta use my favorite bowl. Huh. Error. Wow, did it break? I wonder if it broke while I was away. It's my absolute favorite bowl for doing stuff like this. So. Oh, shoot. Where else would it have gone? well, all right, we're gonna use a bowl that's similar to it. So I have this really nice bowl with like pleated edges. You want a nice shallow bowl. Pasta bowl. A white edged bowl too as well is really nice. It just tends to work better. That's too bad. This isn't ideal, but that's what we're gonna use. Just to give you an idea, the one I have has like these beautiful little pleated edges. I think I used it for the Cole Cannon a while back, but it has disappeared on me. I'm very sad about it. Oh well, oh well. We're moving forward. Moving forward. Okay, beautiful. Shrimp are so delicious. We're just gonna give these grits a little stir. As you can see, they're still plenty hot, and they would have stayed hot for a really long time. But we just want to incorporate that skin that they made to protect themselves. Perfect. I'm gonna take a little spoon here. We're gonna do grits right in the center of the plate. What you do is you do your spoon sort of tip down and get a nice little pile and go pretty heavy. You know, you're gonna have a good decent amount of sauce here. Perfect. Grits in the center. You can smooth them out a little bit if you want. You don't want any on the side though. So good. And then we're gonna take some of the sauce. Make sure it's nice and smooth. We're gonna put the sauce around the outside of the grits. All right. Oops. So we're gonna make sort of a little island out of the grits. And don't be bashful about it. You want a lot in there, just enough so you don't flood the sides. So you want to have a nice side there that you can sort of see. Then we're gonna come in with some shrimps. Again, I'm probably gonna do 8 here, and you just want to sort of arrange them like a little flower around the outside. See how many I can fit on there. Again, if I had my other bowl, this would be even better. Hot. 2 more. Perfect, just like a little flower, and then hit them with a little bit of green. The scallion. A little black pepper on top as well, why not? All right, and there are our shrimp and grits, my friends. Pretty tasty looking. Not my favorite plate, but it's pretty good. And you can, arrange these however you like. I definitely sort of did a little rush job there, but mainly because they're hot. But a wider bowl is going to give you more sort of surface area too to work with. But that's what you're looking at. And the best way to eat this, honestly, is a shrimp in one hand and a spoon in the other. And you just sort of scoop from the outside that sauce into the grits, take a little bite of that shrimp, and just absolutely go to town. Guys, that's my program. I'm really happy you stuck with me.
Chris, we're not leaving.
I hope that you all get to make
everybody. Yum.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And obviously, I'm like looking at this bowl and I'm like, but that's okay. It looks really good. I just my other bowl is so perfect for dishes like this because it's got a high lip and a really wide brim, and that's what you want. You want a nice like white circle around your red within a white inside. It really pleases the eye. So if you have something like that with a deep base and a wide brim, that's what you're going to want to put this into. Make all of your friends go, oh my gosh, what did you do? Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. I really appreciate it. I just had inspiration 2 days ago for what I'm going to be doing next month. I'm very excited. Perhaps the date of the next might give a little tiny bit of inspiration into what I might do.
St. Patrick's Day.
But that doesn't mean that you're going to know what exactly I'm making. If you remember last year for St. Patrick's Day, we did Cole Cannon and corned beef meatballs. We're not going to do that again, but I guarantee you will be surprised at what I think is going to be probably one of my new favorite dishes, honestly. So be excited for next month. March 17th, I believe, is the current date, but it will go out with our newsletter. just to make sure.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chris.
everybody.
Scott,
And,
Bon appetit.
and thank you to the Friends of the Edgartown Library for
yes,
sponsoring this.
seriously, they are so amazing, and they make me so happy that I get to do this and have fun. So get out there.